Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel, Dreame-On Creations. Today we're going to do a quick tutorial on these teacher coasters / paperweights. I know there are different tutorials on YouTube right now on how to make these coasters, but I'm just going to give you my take on how I get it done. So there's really no wrong way of doing these coasters. The only thing you pretty much need that is equivalent across the board is patience. This is a layered process, so it does take about 3 or 4 days to do a complete coaster. So I'm using 2-part epoxy. This epoxy resin is actually Let's Resin. I have used multiple different ones in the past, but this one in particular is by Let's Resin. So I mixed the epoxy 2 parts, half and half, slowly mixed about 3 minutes or so. And then the next thing I do is pour the epoxy resin into these cavities. I do not pour a lot into them because this is my first layer here. Maybe about 15 to 20 mLs just to coat the bottom of the cavity. Only because I don't want my materials. My first layer is going to be this epoxy, and then I'm going to put in my school supplies. And I do this way because I do not want too much movement in my materials, the school supplies that I'm going to put in here. So that's pretty much what I'm doing here. I'm just going to be adding in the epoxy resin to each of the cavities here. And while I'm doing that, I just want to say thank you guys for watching my first tutorial. This is my first full-length YouTube video. I have been doing a few shorts, but this is the first full-length YouTube video. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe for more of these tutorials and other fun things that will be coming. And I'm just gonna speed this up just a little bit because I'm pretty much doing the same thing here. You'll see that I will mix up some more epoxy and add to the cavities because I did not have enough prepared, so I had to go and make some more. So you'll see here where I'm adding in more. So if you're mixing properly, you shouldn't have any problem with adding in more resin. You just don't want to wait too long in between the 2 pours if you do have to mix, because you don't want the first layer to start settling. So I went straight in and mixed in. So right after I poured, I went mixed some more and added it to the cavities to make sure the bottom was fully coated. So here I'm going to start putting in the school supplies. I have some crayons, some color pencils, a few erasers, some paper clips, some tacks, these cute little books. And I did not show the front of them. I apologize. I did not show the front of the school supplies, but you'll see them once I demold the coasters. So that's pretty much what I'm doing here. I just like to put a lot of different things into the coasters. My main thing that I like to do is make sure I have a variety of colors. So this one in particular, this very first one that I'm doing, I was aiming for like a purple and pink type of theme, but that's not normal. You'll see as I continue to go, I like to put like every color in each coaster, so I'll have some contrast when I put the background on. And you'll see I did, like I said, in this first one here, I put a lot of purple in there, more purple than I would normally put in, but I do like to switch it up a little bit. And a step that I did not add in here, I'm just realizing, I guess I wasn't recording, or thought I was recording or something. Normally after I pour each layer of resin, I normally spray the resin with 91% alcohol. But I guess either I forgot to do this step during the process, or I thought I was recording and I wasn't. I'm not sure. But yeah, I normally just spray it, and that helps to release some of the bubbles that you'll get. It is resin, so you will get some bubbles. I'm not sure if there's any resin that gives you absolutely no bubbles, but you do want to try to avoid them as much as possible. So you can do that with spraying 91% alcohol or using a heat gun. And I use both. I just don't use the heat gun in this process right here because of the colors, they will melt. It's happened to me before. They will definitely melt. So I do not use the heat gun on this step. And then I'll just continue to put in the school supplies. And I'm probably going to speed this up right here because it is going to be pretty much repetitive. And you can see in this, well, I guess not, because it looks like I'm putting green and green and blue. So, man, red and red. So, we'll see. You do what you want. You really do what you want. There's no wrong way to put these in. So, just do whatever your heart desires. So I do want to quickly point out how I lay these things in here. So with the crayons, I do make sure that the crayon label is facing down because that is ultimately going to be the top of your coaster. So I like to make sure that label is showing. Same thing with the color pencils. I think those are Crayola as well. So I like to make sure that it's face down. So when you flip the coaster over, you can see all of those things. It just adds a little special touch to your coaster. So I'm almost done here putting the school supplies into the coaster molds. And once you do this, you're going to let this sit 24 hours at least 24 hours before you do your next layer. So you can see here that it has been 24 hours. All of these are cured. So what I'm going to do next is mix up some more epoxy. Now this is going to serve as the background to the coaster. So I have multiple colors. I like to use glitter. We love glitter over here. So I have a few different glitters that I'm going to use. The epoxy is already mixed properly. I normally mix a big batch and then I separate quickly. I quickly separate because this is not a deep pour epoxy. So I have mixed epoxy before in large quantities and did not realize that it starts to heat up and cure very fast. So I still mix the large portions, but I quickly separate them into smaller cups so it does not start to cure on me. So here I am just mixing up the glitter. And just a quick tip, when I mix up the epoxy, like I said before, it is an easy process, but it is a very strategic process. You have to be very patient. You have to, one, make sure that you are mixing equal parts. You need to make sure that you're mixing for a long enough time to make sure that all the epoxy, part A and part B, is mixed up. You want to mix slowly to make sure you are not producing any unwanted bubbles. You are going to produce bubbles, but if you start to mix pretty fast, you'll produce more. Like I'm mixing this green one, definitely mixed it too fast, but it was already, the two parts were already mixed. I was just adding in the glitter in this part. So right here, you see me pouring in the epoxy, the green, glitter epoxy into this cavity, and I think I'm just gonna do like different colors in each one. And you'll see here with this yellow, I did not mix enough. I did not mix enough to cover up the supplies. I think I'm going to come back later and add some more to it. I think I have a little bit more clear left that I'm going to add some yellow glitter to, and then I'll add it here. So you definitely want to make sure you're mixing enough to cover up the supplies. So like I said before, we use about 15 to 20 mLs to coat the bottom, and your next pour is about 80 to 100, maybe a little bit more. It really does depend on the size of your coasters, because I have multiple coaster molds and some of them hold a little bit more than the others. So yeah, about 80 to 100 mLs to completely fill it to the top. And not necessarily to the top. You don't have to go all the way to the top. You just need to go put in enough resin to cover up your supplies. And I know you see here that you can kind of see through the glitter. That's because it is clear epoxy. It is glitter. There's no pigment. I did not add any pigment or anything to the epoxy. So you can kind of see through that. That's not a problem for me. I don't mind that. But I know you can also add in a coaster backing, like the cork backing to it, if you have a problem with seeing that. Or sometimes I have also done this glitter backing, and then I'll come back and put a small layer of pigmented resin where it's a little bit darker. I'll put in some acrylic paint into a small amount just to cover the bottom of it. But that's really not a big deal for me. I do it sometimes I don't. Sometimes I like to make sure my coasters are all the same size, and if I can't achieve that with the glitter, then I'll add a little bit more of pigmented resin on top of it. Does not happen often at all. So, but that is an option if you don't like the see-through portion of it in the back or at the bottom, because ultimately it is the bottom. I'm not sure if anyone really cares about the bottom, but if you do, you can always cover it up. And you can also see here, like as the resin is sitting, you can see the bubbles popping. So if you let your resin sit for a little while, it will definitely help pop some of those bubbles. Some of them do get trapped inside of your resin, and that's where the heat gun and the alcohol comes in. But if you let it sit long enough, they'll definitely pop a little bit. And you'll see here I'm adding some more to the green. It is a little different because I put in maybe more or less glitter, I'm not sure, to the amount of resin that I had in the cup. But all you have to do is just give it a little swirl. Nobody will never know. Just give it a little swirl. I'm gonna do the same thing to the yellow coaster as well. I think something like flew in my resin at this point. So here's another tip. Whenever you're letting your resin cure, you want to make sure that you cover it with something, some type of paper, plastic, a huge box, plastic container, anything that's going to cover your coasters, because once something gets in it and it cures, you can't get it out. So you may want to cover it so you can protect your project. And like I say here, I'm just adding in some more of the yellow. I'm just going to give it a little swirl. You won't even notice it once it cures. It looks like a very drastic difference, but it goes together really well. So I'm just going to continue here, pouring in the resin to fill in the coasters. I'm probably going to speed this portion up because I'm just pouring here. So here you'll see me briefly cleaning my mold. So this is normally my process before I start anything on with making the coasters. I get some shipping tape. I think it's shipping tape, clear tape, whatever. And I just make sure that there's no excess glitter from a previous project or just dust or whatever could be in there. I had some extra resin left over, so I'm just going to make another coaster here. So that's pretty much what I'm doing. This is the first layer for a coaster, and I'm not sure if this is a school coaster or I think I made a coaster for a little girl. But you'll see, I'm just doing the same thing that I did at the beginning of the video, where I'm just spreading out the epoxy resin on the bottom just to coat the bottom. And you'll actually see me in this step spray the coasters with the alcohol, which is a step I think I missed at the beginning of the video. So you'll see me here spray again with the alcohol. And normally that'll get rid of your bubbles, that or the heat gun. But sometimes you have to go in and pop a few. You just get a little toothpick or a wooden stick and just, if you see some popping out, you just pop them. Just as simple as that. Just get rid of those. So once you do that, it's another 24 hours. Make sure you let that sit and cure properly before you demold. So this is the next day, and I'm going to go ahead and demold these coasters. And these are perfect just the way that they are. You can gift them or sell them like this. You can add a name to them. You can add another clear coat to the top to dome them, which I like to do. I honestly don't like the finish of the molds, so I normally put an extra layer of epoxy on the top just to give it an extra little shine. But it's not necessary. They're perfect just the way they are. These could be used as coasters, paperweights, or just a cute little accessory for your desk. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you like this video, and if you would like to see more videos like this. If there's anything in particular that you will want to see, maybe how I mix the epoxy, maybe how I dome these coasters and add a name to it. If there's anything additional you would like to see, please leave it in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you next time.